Hello, I'm Frank Cameron at the Lord Nelson Hotel in Halifax. Welcome to the Nova Scotia New Democratic Party Leadership Convention 1980. We are going to be on the air from now until this convention ends this afternoon with the election of a new leader to succeed Jeremy Ackerman, who resigned earlier this year. And with me in the anchor booth are CBC political reporter John O'Brien and Newsday commentator Harry Fleming. John, with all the infighting and bickering going on in this party over the last 6 months or so, it's been quite an amicable convention so far.
Yeah, over the past 2 days, Frank, I don't think we've seen any of the bloodletting that a lot had predicted would take place.
Naturally, the number one question is who's going to win. If you took a consensus right now, I think that you'd find that the delegates believe that they are overwhelmingly going to elect Alexa McDonough on the first ballot. We'll know quite soon.
Well, we certainly will, and our reporters are on the floor ready to talk to some of the candidates and their supporters.
I have with me a Len Arsenault supporter, Tom Gaskell, and I can ask you, why are you supporting Len?
Well, it goes back quite a few years. I've known Len since quite a while. I know his involvement with a number of other community groups and groups that were involved in political pressure of sorts in the municipal way, and also his work in organizing previous NDP campaigns for such people as Mickey McDonald and the like. So it goes back quite a way. The other thing that I like about Len is that in those campaigns, he felt he had a principle to uphold, and he wasn't very popular for a number of his stands, but he did take them, subjected himself to a fair amount of abuse, if you will, and stuck with it, but got the job done. And I think the events over the past number of months, the resolution on Friday night, that sort of thing, he's again indicated that he's prepared to take a stand that may not be very popular, but he's prepared to stick with it.
I seem to sense a great deal of sympathy for him here. He seems to be going over well. Is that translating into votes?
I somehow think that probably, while I am supporting Len, I somehow think that the mood of the convention seems to be more in line with the, excuse me while I ballot, okay. Would appear to be swinging in favor of Alexa McDonough, and I might add that if Alexa's elected, I will have no problem whatsoever in supporting her as leader, because having listened to her, I know she's very capable.
With me is Dave Watts, a member of Mechanics Local of the United Mine Workers in Glace Bay. There are about a dozen UMW members here, voting delegates at this convention. And Mr. Watts, would you say that the vote from all 12 or so are going to Mr. McEachran?
Oh, yes, all our votes will go to Buddy.
Yeah. Now, Mr. McEachran is speaking now. It might be a little bit difficult for you to hear me what I'm saying, but do you think Buddy, in this final plea that he's making right now, is going to be able to pick up enough support to take the leadership?
Well, I think he may pick up enough support, but the election's never over. The ballots are counted. You have to wait till they're counted to see what the outcome will be.
Do you think that there's any sort of a division between the party of any sort? There's been a great deal of pleading for cooperation. Buddy has just had a standing ovation when he asked that the party display cooperation. Is the party united, do you think?
I think the party's united. There's no division. There may be differences of opinion, but the other two old-line parties would like to think we're divided. We're not divided. We're as strong as ever, if not stronger than ever.
And if, in fact, there is no leader of this party from Cape Breton when this afternoon is finished, will that affect Labour's role, particularly the UMW's role in backing the NDP in the industrial area of Cape Breton, do you think?
I don't think the new president just elected is from Cape Breton, and I don't think the leadership will make any difference of whether he's from Cape Breton or not. We'll support whoever this convention decides is going to be the leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. Watts.
Well, I have with me, if you can hear me, Peggy Prowse. She ran several times in the early 60s in the Jim Aitchison era. Professor Aitchison was party leader, and at that time the critics were saying the party was nothing but a glorified debating society. We now have a very articulate spokesman on policy in the form of Alexa McDonough, who may be the next leader. Are we going in that same direction?
No, I think definitely not. Although a policy in this party will always be extremely important and still is. At the time of Jim's leadership, and Jim Aitchison made a very valuable and committed contribution to this party, but we had not developed at that time the practical application of policies in the political scene. We hadn't developed the poll-by-poll organization that we have now. We hadn't realized the real necessity of getting our message across to the voters. So, no, we're not going back. We're going ahead.
In Manitoba, the party came back from third to first without bothering with second. Could that conceivably happen here?
I think it's very likely given the present political climate in this province, and I fervently hope that that will be so.
Just two more questions. Do you get frustrated? You worked awfully long and awfully hard for this party.
Yes.
And do you think it's as strong as it should be, given all the effort people like you have put into it?
No, I think it's a long, hard fight, but I think that particularly at this convention, we're perhaps seeing the peak, and I think it's very, very likely that we could jump from third to first.
And the final question, you're supporting Alexa, why?
I'm supporting Alexa because I have worked with her in 2 federal elections as a candidate. I know her to be extremely hard-working, articulate, intelligent, and the kind of person that could lead our party to victory.
Thank you very much. Now back to the anchor desk.
It seems that everyone our reporters talk to seems to think that this is going to be the year that the New Democratic Party is going to make the big breakthrough.
Is this convention moving away from labor to a more academic, a more middle of the road approach in its policies and platform?
No, this has never been a labor party. The academics have always been a part of this party. This is a party of people, and the labor are not all. We only represent 30% of the people. In my view, we don't deserve to have our own party, but this is a party that we can participate in from our trade union and from our constituency association. All I suggest is labor wants to make a contribution. So we're not moving. We're just a people's party, and labor is sitting down with the academics, the farmer, the fisherman, the small businessman, and the large businessman with a conscience to build a better society for our people. And all we want to do is play our part.
Okay. Thank you very much, Gerald Yetman, President of the Nova Scotia Federation of Labor. Now over to Paul Barr.
As a convention as a whole, how's this one been, and how does it compare to others?
In what context? In terms of numbers, we're almost twice as big as any convention we've ever had.
What about the mood of the convention? Is it a good convention?
Oh, I think it's a fantastic convention.
Any splits that we've been hearing about, are they really real, or are they just imagined, or is it just a figment of the press, or what?
We are a Democratic Party where we discuss our policies on the convention floor. You've seen it going on for 2 days now. There are inevitably going to be differences of opinion. The differences are not regional. There is not a Cape Breton Halifax split. There is not an intellectual minor split. There's differences of opinion, which are legitimate differences of opinion, which we discuss on the convention floor. That's what debate is all about.
Thank you very much, Frank. With me is Bill Martin, the president of the Inverness Constituency Association for the New Democratic Party. Bill, as a member from Inverness, you perhaps have mixed feelings about who to vote for, but I see you're wearing a button or a stick-on for Alexa McDonough. Obviously, she's your choice.
That's true, she is. I really don't have any mixed feelings at all, and I assume that by having you say that, you must be referring to the fact that Inverness County is on Cape Breton Island, and perhaps leading me to discuss whether or not there might be a Cape Breton split, or there must be Cape Breton solidarity. I have the greatest of respect for Len Arsenault and Buddy McEachern. I've learned to respect them even more in the course of this weekend. But I have found that the kind of leadership qualities that I would look for, the kind of person that I would want to follow, are found solely and exclusively at this point in time with Alexa McDonough. Her ability to coordinate other people, to organize her own constituency, and I think to organize the rest of us is what it's all about. And we're on our way in this party in this decade, I think largely due to the efforts of people like Alexa over the previous years and on the executive. And I think that it's fitting that Alexa take over at this time and lead us on in 80 to electoral victory at the polls.
Okay, the fact that Mrs. McDonough is a woman, if she is to be the party leader, the fact that she does not represent an area which has traditionally been the base of electoral support for the party, will this jeopardize future gains in Cape Breton, do you think?
She's a woman, is she? I see. It really didn't enter the picture at all. It doesn't enter the equation, I don't think, in a New Democrat. People are people. Men and women work together, and it takes men and women to elect members to the legislature, certainly. With regard to her geographic position in the province, we have not won a seat in that area before, that is true. But the broad base of popular support for the New Democratic Party has increased dramatically in all areas of the province, certainly has increased in a particular area, and again, thanks to Alexa McDonough. She herself has garnered a rather substantial portion of the vote in the elections she ran federally, and I believe very sincerely that as leader, the impetus given to her by becoming leader, that she very likely can win a seat in the Halifax area.
Okay, Mr. Martin, thank you very much for your thoughts. And now back to the anchor desk.
Thank you very much, Jack. And as mentioned there, the balloting is going to begin very shortly. And maybe after the first ballot, we might know who is going to be the new leader of the New Democratic Party.
This is a very big convention. Many years ago, I've been to both liberal and conservative conventions in this hotel that weren't nearly as big as this.
What's it going to take for the NDP in Nova Scotia to make a big breakthrough in this province?
Well, I think the time has come. This is, according to what they're saying, the best convention they've ever had in Nova Scotia. The feeling of unity, despite the, I think the press apprehension prior to the convention is just great. These people are together. I was walking around the crowd last night. They have a sense that something will happen in Nova Scotia. And the 20% of the vote that we get for the NDP in the federal election is, the best that we get. It's the third best that we get. It's just amazing.
To translate that 20% into seats in the House, or to take, to be the opposition even, how long down the road do we look at something like this?
Well, in Manitoba, we went from being a third-place party to being the government in 1969. Nobody expected it, but the mood of the province, the conservative attitude of the government of the day, which was conservative, the lack of any platform by the Liberal Party in Manitoba in 1969 was such that we went from about 24% of the vote to enough to form the government in one election.
And we were talking about the days when people wouldn't walk on the same side of the street of us because we were CCF. They wouldn't stand alongside of us at church or sit with us because we thought they were the devil on wheels. But we've advanced from that, eh?
Come a long way.
Yeah, we're respected for that, and good we are. I think that although we never formed a government in Nova Scotia or federally, we've had a great influence on what we've done.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Rosemary Brown, BC MLA, special speaker this afternoon at the New Democratic Party Convention. Rosemary Brown said it. It's been said here all weekend. There's some excitement here.
This is a real political party. Wants to win.
The steelworkers and miners just want a chance. The problem with the industries in Cape Breton are basic industries that they're owned by governments. The federal government own our coal mines, and the provincial government own our steel plant. But they're two governments that don't believe in public ownership. That's the problem. That's the problem. I appreciate your applause, but you're cutting into my prime time. If you can hold it to the end, it would be appreciated. We have in Cape Breton 1 billion tons of coal under our feet. We're selling every pound that comes out of the ground that these miners are producing. There's 5,000 people in their communities looking for jobs. One of the highest unemployment rates in Canada, and we can't get the damn coal mines open by the federal government. That's one problem. The steelworkers, all they're asking for is an opportunity and a chance. That's all. They proved in 1967, when the government was forced to take over that industry, that they could be productive, the most productive in the world. In fact, they were so productive they pretty near ruined the plant when they produced 1 million tons. And all they want's a chance. They don't want charity, and they don't want the politicians, liberals and Tories, going up and down this province and country saying they want it. They want a chance. You give them the tools, and by God, they'll do the job. There isn't any question of that. And I want to tell you, my friends, a party that believes in people, that we're talking about community. We're not talking about an industry. If that plant goes, it's not 3,000 jobs, it's 18,000 jobs in an area that has unemployment now at 15%. How devastating could the effects be? The social cost. If the government haven't got sense for nothing else, they must realize if they looked at the social cost, if it goes, it's cheaper to give them the tools and put the plant and modernize it